In today's video, I will show you how you can merge different data sets in Stata. We want to go ahead and open the Do File Editor. The first thing we want to do is we want to set the directory that we're going to work in. So in my case, that means I type cd, change directory. We find the folder that we're going to be working in, and we copy the address as text. That's the simplest way. So this is my directory, the Stata case, and this is the address, and I will paste that there. Now, I put quotation marks around it in case I have spaces anywhere in my names. Now, I tend to use underscore because I'm used to working in code, and in the old days, you couldn't have spaces. But if you have spaces anywhere in your folder names, you will want to have quotation marks around your directory. Now, sometimes it seems to work even without the backslash, but I'm adding the backslash there because I believe that is most often necessary in order for it to find the directory. Now it's time to load the file that we want to use, our master file. So we type in stata case.data, which is the file I want to use. This loads the master variable file. Now a master file is basically our starting point. Let's run this code, and shows us here in the background that it changed the directory and it loaded the file, and we can see here all the variables that we have just loaded. Now, if you want to, we can go and inspect the variables by accessing the data editor, and everything seems to be in order. What we want to do now is merge this data set with another data set. Now, the file containing this other data set is called market data. And so we could, if we wanted to, we could inspect this file first. So here's my market data file. That's the file that contains the data that I want merged with the master file. So if I open that and inspect that, there are some similarities. So in this market data file, I also have a firm identifier, CIQ ID, and I have year. Well, I also have another identifier, IQ ISAN, but we won't be using that one. And I have two additional variables here. And those are the two variables that I want to move into the Stata case file, my master file. So couldn't we just copy the data in this file and paste it into the master file? This is typically not a good idea because if your observations are sorted in a different way, or maybe you have a different number of observations in the two files, they do not align well. So if we look here, for instance, it seems that there are some similarities for sure. We have here this firm, and that's the same firm as here, and here we have the same firm again, and we have 3 years, apparently, in both data sets. But if we scroll down a little bit, we notice here we have 2,526 observations, and in the master file we have 2,625. So we can't just place them next to each other. That'll be no good. Also, if you have perhaps collected the data manually and you didn't have access to the same firms, that might be a reason you don't have them in this data set, and that's why we want to use the merge function. So the first thing to do is decide on which variable we want to carry out the merge on. That is, the variables that we want to use to identify unique observations. Our firm identifier, CIQID, is a good place to start. But I can't just tell Stata to take all the observations on a given CIQID in the market data file and add them to the master file, because I have multiple observations in each CIQID for each variable. That is, look at returns. I have 3 observations here pertaining to the same CIQ ID. So if I tell Stata to get returns for this ID and put that in here, it's not going to know which one of these 3 to pick. And it can't pick all 3 of them because you can't fit 3 values in one cell. So we have to give Stata some more information. But first we can just have a look at what happens if you do it this way. So let's type merge, which is the function we use to merge the data. And because we have a panel, we're going to use the option or the subcommand called m-to-1. Stands for many to one. I'll get back to that in a moment. Now we type in the variable name that we want, and then using to tell it which file we want to use, and then the file. Here we have the master file, here we have the using file. So this merges the master file with an additional file, in this case one containing market data. Do a little line break there. So now let's run this code. And now you see I get an error. It says variable CIQID does not uniquely identify observations in the using data. So that illustrates that error. So if you have, and basically it's because we have duplicates here. It doesn't uniquely identify observations. So then, whenever you get this error, you want to check your data. So we can do that by running a duplicates check in our market data file. So let's open the market data file, which is this one. We can run the code duplicates list and then tell which variable are we talking about. So in this case, this is the one that has duplicates. And of course, we know for sure that we have 3 duplicates for every, or 2 duplicates for every single firm, because that's by construction. But if you're ever looking for duplicates that might be messing up your merge process, this is the way to check for them. So more information about the duplicates command can be found by typing in help duplicates. And that goes for any command. You type in help and the command. And then here you get the help file. And that'll explain how you use that function. So the solution in our case is to add another variable on which to merge. In this case, the logical solution is to use year. Because if we have both CIQID and year, then we will know exactly which observation we're talking about. So let's add year to our code and run this again. Now it worked. Now this will make sure that Stata knows which observation to get from the market data and where to put them in the master file. Now m-to-1 is typically the appropriate specification when you have a panel data set. If you have a cross-section, you may use 1-to-1. And if you have a cross-section that you merge with a panel, you may use 1-to-m, 1-to-many. And again, you can type in help merge to get some information about the options that are available to you when you merge. The merge command generates a variable called merge_merge with information about the merging process. A successful merge takes the value of 3. An observation that did not have any observations in the using data set takes the value of 1, whereas observations that only exist in the using data set and not in the master variable file gets a value of 2. So as you see here, we had some data missing in the market data file. It couldn't find 99 observations in the using market data file, but not vice versa. So here we didn't have anything in the using file that was not in the master file.